Some major NFL trade blockbusters really shaking up the entire league. The Seattle Seahawks getting in on the action. A Jets fire sale. The San Francisco 49ers, though, did not get involved at the deadline. Why didn't they? And was it the right move on today's Locked On 49ers?
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker, post-deadline special live episode here on this Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. Deadline is coming, gone. We're going to break down what the 49ers did not do and maybe some other rumored deals that should they have made and why they didn't. Of course, some deals that did get done around the NFL, some big-time trades, and it was a really fun trade deadline here as they have become a lot more fun in recent years. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. And make sure, everybody, that you're subscribed out there on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. See a lot of folks in here live, ready to go, jazzed up and maybe disappointed by what the 49ers did or did not do at the trade deadline here in 2025. So, Croc, I think we have to start with the 49ers not making a move at the deadline. They did a deal last week for Keion White. They've made a couple of moves this year. Started with bringing in Sky Moore earlier on in the offseason, and Bryce Huff was a springtime deal to try to bring that defensive line together. Of course, there's been massive injuries now on that line, and Bryce Huff himself coming back from a hamstring injury. Brian Robinson in camp was added to the running back group. And so they did make some moves, and there was some aggression by John Lynch and the 49ers to put this team together. But at some point, the injuries were too much, and potentially the asking prices were too high from other teams at this NFL trade deadline, and they did not pull off a move on this Tuesday. Are you shocked by that, Croc?
I was muted there. Nah, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. I like the one move that the 49ers did, especially when you start to look at what a lot of these teams gave up to acquire some of their talent. We talked about the big defensive tackle, Quinnen Williams over with Dallas. Sauce Gardner, that was a shock to me to see Sauce Gardner not only traded, but traded for 2 first-round picks. This is a guy who hit the ground running at the NFL level, played extremely well as a rookie. But since then, it feels like some of his players kind of tapered off just a little bit each year. And to see him go for 2 first-round picks, so I'm kind of good with where the 49ers sat. I'd say the one thing that works in those teams' favors that did trade to acquire talent with draft picks, you never know what they are, right? So let's say, hypothetically speaking, the 49ers, they got the 13th overall pick or the 12th overall pick. Hey, let's go get Quinnen Williams. Let's trade this pick for Quinnen Williams. I think people would take that over drafting maybe a Michael Williams, who may be a little bit more of a project. So, and obviously there's a financial aspect to it as well, which a lot of times you take on a lot of money, or you have to end up signing these guys to bigger contracts. But ultimately, I think the 49ers kind of where they are, a lot of high-priced players on their team, a lot of high-priced players who have been hurt or injured. I think where they're at, not the worst thing, not the worst thing.
I'm kind of in line with the Newt in the chat here, who says, this isn't the year to put all your chips in. I like the approach of not doing much. I think if there was a move to be made, then I think the 49ers would have made it. And I think we saw that move with Keion White, where it didn't cost you very much. You're doing a late round pick swap. It's not that expensive. I don't think this was a year that the 49ers should have been spending premium picks. And, maybe if Nick Bosa, Fred Warner aren't hurt, and they're going to be back for the stretch, you think, man, this could be a Super Bowl team. Maybe we add one piece. But at the same time, if Fred Warner and Nick Bosa are healthy, you probably don't even need to add a piece, because you already feel like you're going to get some guys back offense with Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk and Brock Purdy getting healthy, and that would be sort of your additions to the second half of the roster to go make a run at this thing. So If there was a deal to be made, I did not see one that it was like, oh man, that was cheap. The 49ers should have done that. It would have really helped them down the stretch. I didn't see any of those deals get done. And I have a feeling what John Lynch was trying to do, and I think he was aggressive making phone calls and shopping around, that he was just finding that there was not a deal that really made sense, that made this team better now, that would have cost the right amount, or that if it did cost a little bit more and maybe a premium pick, a day 2 pick, say, would have needed to be involved, that it was going to move the needle for them this year and be something that really helped them a lot next year. So I think that's why we are where we're at. And I know that a lot of fans are disappointed and wanted the 49ers to get involved and seeing all these big blockbuster moves that we're going to talk about here in a little bit go down, and wanted to be a part of that and have some fun. But you can't make moves just to make moves. And I don't think you should be throwing draft picks around just to do something, right? And so probably prudent that the 49ers stood pat, didn't make any moves, especially based on some of the asking prices I'm seeing out there. I think really the two big names that made the most sense for the 49ers, we saw one deal yesterday with Jalen Phillips getting traded from the Dolphins to the Eagles, and I thought that one was kind of a little pricey. The Sauce and Quinnen Williams blockbusters also, I think, overpays. And I think that's where those deals got done, is the teams were willing to pay a lot for them. And I don't think the 49ers should have paid those prices for those players. You remember last week, we were talking about Quinnen Williams, where there was a report that it was like a second-round pick is what they were asking. And we're like, yeah, second-round pick for Quinnen Williams. Be a part of this thing going in the future would help now. And turns out it was a first and a second-round pick for Quinnen Williams.
Yes.
That's too much. That's not where the 49ers need to be. And they can't really be adding a bunch of big salaries and spending premium picks on top of it for players right now. With the way this thing is built and with all the injuries, I think it's a team they have to take their medicine a little bit and keep building this thing and try to draft some more players and get some cost-controlled talent and keep getting younger and stronger that way through the draft going forward. I think that's just the right way for this team to go about it. Now, they have 3 fourth-round picks. Some comp picks are coming. If they could have got a player for a day 3 pick that might have made a difference, sure. But it sounds like that player wasn't out there, Croc. And so I think we're kind of on the same page there, where just nothing really made sense. And I think that's, you can throw a name out there. They weren't coming for nothing, right?
The New York Jets, man. I mean, trading away a guy like Sauce Gardner, which again, is he playing to his contract? Not sure about that, but solid football player, legit starter. Quinnen Williams, legit starter, all-star ability at times. All pro ability at times. Losing those guys, so I get the allure. I get the excitement if you are a New York Jets fan, where it's like, man, 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years. That is a lot of picks. But those picks turn into actual players. And are you going to get what those guys gave you a lot of times? And more times than not, I think we see this work out. Like, no, you typically don't get in return what you shelved out. So I'm excited to see how it works out for them. I think a lot of the issues with the New York Jets has been ownership. I think 49ers early on, and Alex Smith talks about this a lot, but, ownership early on in his career as well. And I think with the 49ers not making a move today, I'm going to point to ownership or GM John Lynch, and I think they did the right thing.
I want to talk more about this Jets fire sale that happened. I want to talk about especially one big trade that did not get done for the 49ers, talking about Jermaine Johnson of the New York Jets. And Breece Hall was another player that was rumored to be out there, potentially available in this Jets fire sale. Those guys did not end up getting moved. And more from the 2025 NFL trade deadline next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Built. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it, right? That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed toward hundreds of hotels and airlines, maybe even a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. Whether you're out grabbing food at your local favorite restaurant, maybe you're heading to the gym, getting coffee, still earning rewards. Built has made everyday life feel more rewarding. From your neighborhood to your travel plans and make your rent work for you. Turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnfl. That's joinbuilt, BILT.com/lockedonnfl. Make sure that you use this link, joinbuilt.com/lockedonnfl, so they know we sent you. You guys, I got to talk about my new favorite jeans. You know them, my Doers. I've been reaching for my Doer jeans for everything. I'm talking about hanging out, doing podcasts, going and seeing some bands play, going and catching a ball game, right? Whatever it is, errands, sporting events, going out to dinner, grabbing drinks. Doer has 5 times the stretch of traditional denim. It combines classic jeanswear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear, the best of both worlds. Been wearing my performance denim, been wearing my no sweat jeans, which are phenomenal because basically they feel like sweats, but they look like jeans too. And so you can make it even more casual, but not even look that casual with the no sweat pants. Designed to look great and stay comfortable all day, no matter what you're doing. Doer are pioneers blending technical innovation with everyday clothing. They invented the original performance denim. Simply put, Doer makes the world's most comfortable pants without having to sacrifice style. And trust me, you got to try these on for yourself, and you can check them out at the new Doer store in San Francisco, 567 Hayes Street. Pick up a pair for yourself. There's an amazing staff there. They're a phenomenal holiday gift as well. And mention our promo code LOCKEDONSF in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at shopdoer, DUER.com/LockedOnSF for 15% off. That's shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. So, Croc, I think there's 2 players, Bradley Chubb, Jermaine Johnson. Bradley Chubb of the Dolphins, Jermaine Johnson of the New York Jets, that would have been fits, I think, for the 49ers. They've been identified as a while as players that could possibly be available. And clearly the Dolphins and Jets were on the phones and willing to talk trades with people. And those deals didn't end up getting done. We were asked in the chat here what the asking price was for Bradley Chubb. I'm not sure there, but there was a lot of late reporting and it came from a bunch of different sources. So it sounds like the Jets were definitely leaking this information that, or the Niners were leaking this information, or whoever, about what the asking price was. The Jets were asking for a 2nd-round pick for Jermaine Johnson. And I did see some fans out there. They're like, yeah, cool, whatever. Do a deal because you got to get it done. Send a 2nd-round pick. It's too much. And I think it was right that the 49ers did not send a 2nd-round pick to the Jets for Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson, former 1st-round pick in 2022, and he's a really good player. He's a Pro Bowl alternate in 2023, his 2nd year. He had 7.5 sacks that year, 2.5 sacks as his rookie year. Then he tore his Achilles last year, year 3, and then came back this year. He's played 5 games. He played 2 games the year before. He's had 1 sack in those last 7 games since he was the Pro Bowl alternate in year 2. And it's like, man, a guy coming off an Achilles who has 1 sack in 5 games after that injury. You just don't know what you're getting there for a team that's already as hurt as the 49ers are. One of those extra 4th-round picks that the 49ers have, you could dangle one of those potentially for that player. But a 2nd-round pick, it's just too much. And I'm a hard no on that. And I think John Lynch was right to also be a hard no there. And with Bradley Chubb, I think probably it shouldn't have been a big asking price there. And so maybe it was too high. I don't know. But the 49ers didn't do those deals. And I think at least knowing the information we have about Jermaine Johnson, I think it was right to not do that deal, even though he could have been a nice player and really fit in for the 49ers, and was under contract under his 5th-year option next year, which is, I think, a big bonus. But at the same time, 5th-year option for a 1st-round pick is not cheap, $13 million contract. And just, we haven't seen the production since the Achilles for him. 2nd-round pick's just too rich. And even a 4th, I'd be like, yeah, conditions too, because he needs to be productive for the rest of this year for that to make sense for this football team. And then you've already put together a team, right? Bosa, Michael Williams, Bryce Huff, they're all under contract next year. So you've added a defensive end, one of those players is going to play a little bit less of a role. And so I just think that in the end, the right deals didn't come down. And I thought there might have been one more deal, the Arden Key or someone like that, where it's, 7th-round pick and it's not much. And you get a little extra player to strengthen your depth and have another rotational guy. But even that deal, it doesn't seem like was out there for John Lynch at the deadline.
No, I think there have been kind of a mix of emotions for the 49ers kind of being a little hesitant to make any big moves. This has clearly been a regime that when they feel like they are a player away, they definitely attempt to go get that player and do everything to potentially go on a deep playoff run. I think everything they're telling us right now is that kind of how we feel about it. Solid, we're competitive, but it doesn't feel like 2019, or this doesn't feel like 2022 or 23, right? When you're going after Randy Gregory and Chase Young. It's like, we're not one edge rusher away from all of a sudden making a deep playoff push. So I think that's where some of the hesitancy comes from the Niners with making any splash deals that may affect the future for them. I think cap wise, the 49ers may be in a solid position over the next couple years, especially when some of these bigger contracts maybe start to fall off, right? A guy like Trent Williams inevitably retires. We'll see how long, Christian McCaffrey continues to look like Christian McCaffrey. But I could see in the next couple of years some of those big guys going away, and then you may see them kind of push for a splash trade. But it doesn't feel like this is the season, especially for a team who does not have a ton of draft picks in 2026. And that's a big part of it too. We're so used to seeing the 49ers have 10, 11 draft picks. That's not the case next offseason.
Zach in the chat says, I don't see the Niners winning it all this year. Eagles go out and do what they do, spending very little, and the Niners just sit there. Forever Blessed says, hosting the Super Bowl, and we're 6-3, and not trying to win a 6 for the fans at home is ridiculous. Jermaine Johnson was going to win you a Super Bowl? Like, that's the other part I don't get. Like, it's just one of those years. It's a tough year. The Niners, yes, they're 6-3, and the Niners can still make the playoffs. They got to win 4 more games. Can the 49ers win 4 more games as banged up as they are? I think they can, and they might be a little bit better in the December area, December, early January than they are right now. Maybe they can even win a playoff game, but no Bosa, no Fred Warner. This wasn't a team that was going to go win a Super Bowl anyway, and adding one more decent player even was not going to change that, I don't think. So I don't think the failure to get a deal done at the deadline was all about the Niners and not wanting to go win. It was just that asking prices were too high and nothing made sense. And so I don't have a problem with what the 49ers did. Silent in the chat says they punted on the season, sit their starters, Brock to IR, start the backups and rookies for experience, ice the season, go for a high first rounder. You can't do that either. I just laid it out there. Niners can win 4 more games. Go have fun. It's house money. You're not going to tank. Go see if you can make the playoffs. Make life miserable for the Rams and the Seahawks. See if you can pull that off. I think anything more is probably asking too much. It's what the football gods gave the 49ers this year. And Croc, have you heard the theory that Kyle Shanahan made a deal with the devil and essentially every game the 49ers have to lose a player because he made a deal that Christian McCaffrey's not the one that's going to get hurt. So McCaffrey somehow getting all the touches on the planet, skates through, hasn't had a big injury himself, but everybody else on the team's getting hurt. What's going on with that?
Yeah, he may have. I mean, it's the oddest thing, especially with Christian McCaffrey's health issues coming in, or concerns, health concerns coming into the season. We were worried about the calf and the ankle and, the Achilles and all those things. And it's been everyone but Christian McCaffrey, especially to the tune of Christian McCaffrey being probably the most, almost the most, if not the most productive player in all of the NFL to this point in the season. Definitely did not see that coming, not because of an ability standpoint, but just, I guess, his ability to stay healthy, especially when you start to hear those concerns early on. But man, everyone else has just been banged up. And we keep going back to this, right? 6-3. I am mind blown. And I understand that the schedule kind of playing into that a little bit, but not when you lose this many players. 6-2, 6-3, heading into the season at this point. A lot of young guys on both sides of the ball. Very understandable. But with how many guys have gotten hurt, the big dogs you've lost, and still be able to have 6 wins right now, I think that is awesome. But because of all of those things, I think that's why the 49ers just are not pressed on making any big-time changes.
It was funny. I still thought the Niners were going to do a deal. Even when it was 1 p.m. Pacific time, it was like 1:01. You know how some years there's like that deal that kind of got done right at the deadline and it doesn't get reported for a few minutes until after the deadline when you think no more deals were going to get done. I'd already made a different thumbnail for this episode and it had Jermaine Johnson. It's like, the Niners going to get a deal done. I actually had the thumbnail ready to go. And then I kept seeing all these second rounds. Like, surely the Niners aren't going to give up a second round pick for Jermaine Johnson. And then as it came closer and closer, and you started to realize, oh man, it got real quiet, and no more deals came down right at the deadline. And it's like, okay, that's it. This is not going to be a move at the trade deadline for John Lynch and the San Francisco 49ers. And look, this I don't think the takeaway can possibly be that the 49ers weren't trying. I think they were burning up the phone lines. I think they're talking to everybody, but I think rightly, John Lynch had a price for the players that he was looking to add, and if it made sense, he would do it. And the asking prices were too high. And so you can't just make a move and hurt yourself. And the 49ers are going to need those draft picks. The Niners are going to have to replenish some talent, get some more young defensive linemen, some young offensive linemen. Where the offensive tackles in this league, you got to draft them in the first round. You can't be throwing those around. And so that's where the 49ers are right now. And I think you have some fun. Go try to win some football games and see if you can make the playoffs and see where this team can go. There's a special quality about this team. But you weren't going to go out there and be like, okay, we did this deal at the deadline. Now we're going to go win the Super Bowl because of it. And certainly not for Bradley Chubb and whoever else that the Niners could have gotten. That wasn't going to make that much of a difference. Would have helped, but again,
would have had to be several players the 49ers traded for.
Yeah, or such a big deal that you're trading multiple first round picks. We saw the cost of Quinnen Williams. You know, I wouldn't have done the Quinnen Williams trade. I would have done the Sauce Gardner trade. Let's talk about those. Let's talk about some of the deals that were done, including the Seattle Seahawks adding a piece on offense. That is a team the 49ers are going to see again this year and be battling for the NFC West title with. Next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game, want to ride the hot hand? FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. And you know every team makes a push. Everyone makes a run in the NBA. Of course, NFL weekly lines, player props, season-long bets. You can find it all at FanDuel. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell from the Indianapolis Colts to the New York Jets for Sauce Gardner. That was one of the most fun trade deadline deals I can ever remember, Croc, because it wasn't even a name that people brought up. When the Niners traded for Christian McCaffrey, you had a feeling that Christian McCaffrey could possibly be available. Even with some of the players you thought the Jets would trade, it was like Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner surely won't be among them because those will be the building blocks for the future. Turns out untouchable was Garrett Wilson. Sauce Gardner, not untouchable. In fact, he was touched for 2 firsts and A.D. Mitchell. I love this move for the Jets. You've got to rebuild this thing and figure it out. You need ammo to go find your next quarterback. You got a couple extra picks now in this year's first round in 2026. And after the Quinnen Williams trade, they have 3 first-round picks in what is shaping up. Now, we're ways out here, but that draft, and it's pretty far out to be planning for that far out, but the 2027 draft has some ridiculous talent that looks like it might be available there. Jets have 3 first-round picks in that first round. I think it was an overpay for the Colts. I like a new fresh start for A.D. Mitchell, so I think that's a nice little get for a throw-in for the New York Jets as well. But here's the thing for the Jets, Croc, is they just went through this. They had 3 first-round picks 3 years ago. That 2022 first round that we're talking about, where it was Jermaine Johnson. They got Breece Hall at the beginning of the second round in that draft. They drafted Garrett Wilson, and was that Sauce as well? Same draft?
They got Sauce number, 4 overall?
Who was the other?
I think it was that same season. Yeah, I think it was that same year.
Like, man, They hit on those picks, and they still weren't good. Because what else did they do?
Okay, so what you're saying is, and they actually hit on those picks. We have Zachary in the chat, and he says Niners can't draft round 1 or 2 anyway, so why not trade them away?
I saw that a lot. It's like, well, they stink in the second round, so why not trade a second round pick? And it's like, well, you're still not going to throw away picks because there are the drafts where you do hit on Deebo Samuel. You do hit on players you did draft Fred Warner in the third round. So even though they've done some weird stuff in the third round, you don't want to pass up the opportunity to get Fred Warner. You don't want to pass up the opportunity to get the next Deebo. You don't want to, Aaron Banks even. I know the Niners didn't re-sign him, but he's going to get them a comp pick back on top of being a nice starter for the 49ers for a few years. So, you're still not going to, and there's cost-controlled talent too. You can still trade those picks for other players later. Maybe the Niners gear up with an extra. Maybe the Niners, instead of trading one of those fourth-round picks at the trade deadline, maybe in the offseason before the draft, they end up trading one of those fourth-round picks and get a different player. They got Trent Williams for a fourth-round pick. They drafted Brock Purdy at the last pick in the stinking draft. Fred Warner, a third-round pick. A fifth-round pick was spent on George Kittle and a bunch of good players. So you can't throw away picks. It's not what a good organization is going to do. I get the sentiment that they screw up, but a lot of teams screw up a lot of picks. You'd be shocked. Go randomly go to drafthistory.com and go looking at teams' drafts, and you'll see entire classes that are just worthless for teams that didn't produce at all. So I'm not. Yeah, good organizations don't throw away draft picks. In fact, you probably need to add more draft picks. And if anything, I wonder if there was a deal the Niners could have done where a team came calling, like traded away a player. There was a lot of talk about, Niners have an extra safety potentially. Did the team need a safety? Could you have traded Jair Brown to the Cowboys? I know you don't want to give the Cowboys players, but they're trying to give away draft picks, right? The Niners maybe should have been a team draft pick.
You gotta if you have a suitor for a player that you don't see in your future, I don't care if it's the Dallas Cowboys, you got to trade that player.
Yeah.
We've seen some teams do some interdivision trades, and it's like, this guy is not a part of our future. So, and you don't want to help the opposing team, but if you need to get that player off, you got to do it, regardless if it's the Cowboys or not. Maybe if it's like your actual division, I'd have a little bit tougher time with it. We have seen some draft day trades between like the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks for just kind of position swapping. But actual, like, okay, I'm just going to send this player to a rival. Not even just a rival, excuse me, a divisional opponent that you're going to see twice a year. Conference opponent, I'll do it. Division, a little riskier.
Was there a deal out there, Croc, that you saw that you thought, okay, the Niners should have done that?
Nah, I don't think so, because again, a big part of my thoughts were this is just not the team. So unless the 49ers are going to offload a player, if they had a player like a Jair Brown, where maybe you get a 5th or 6th round pick or something, maybe a Jawan Jennings, could you get a 4th round pick and kind of, get a few picks and make it to where you can maneuver a little bit more in the draft. But I don't see this team as being, hey, we're so close that you have to make this kind of trade to make this team better. I didn't view them that way. I think whatever you get, I like how you talked about playing with house money. JM617 in the chat says, Jacoby Myers. Before the season started, if you'd have told me, hey, 49ers are going to add Jacoby Myers, all right, I'm for it. But outside of that, like right now, it's just save your draft capital. You know what's going on right now with the 49er fan base? It reminds me of if I give my daughter $25, right? All right, you got $25. You can spend it on whatever you want. But hey, today we're going to the Dollar Tree. Tomorrow we're going to Disneyland. Well, you can't get anything for $25 at Disneyland, but just stay with me here. You're going somewhere where you would much rather buy something later as opposed to from this store that we're going to today. And it's like 49er fans like, I got this money's burning a hole in my pockets. I got to go buy something. It's like, nah, just save that money. Trust me, it's going to be much more useful where we're going next. And I think for the 49ers, that draft capital, I believe, will be more useful moving forward than as opposed to trading for a player today.
My kid, 100% the same way. whatever the option right now is, that's the option he's going to take. No chance he's waiting for whatever that awesome thing could be the next day. Not at all waiting for it. And yeah, it's a great lesson there with where the 49ers are right now. It's just one of those seasons, but I think it's a really fun season because the 49ers have a chance to compete. About that Rashid Shaheed trade for the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks get a little scarier because Darnold's been dominating. And it's funny because this all kind of comes together with Darnold actually being a good NFL quarterback, former Jets draft pick, right? And we talked about the Jets actually when they had those draft picks before, they're replaying history. They actually hit on all those draft picks, and they were still bad. Why? Because the year before, they spent a first-round pick on Zach Wilson. So they can't get the quarterback part of it right, and that's the lesson for the New York Jets. Can they figure that out this time? Do the 49ers get a pick from the Jets for Mac Jones? Is it Jermaine Johnson for Mac Jones next offseason, right? I could absolutely see that being a perfect stopgap, even if the Jets decide they're going to draft the quarterback. Maybe the Jets say, we're going to go Mac Jones now, then we're going to see how that goes. We might go into the 2027 draft and go get Arch Manning then or something like that. Go trade crazy. We got those 3 first-round picks. So maybe that's the plan of the New York Jets, potentially. But with the Seahawks, Darnold is dealing right now, and Cooper Kupp gets banged up. I didn't think they needed to make a move because they still had Torrey Horton, who looked awesome with extra snaps this week in prime time. And obviously JSN's going crazy for them on offense. And then they go out and add more speed to go deep. They're going to try to bomb on the 49ers next time they see them. What do you think? Shaheed to the Seahawks. That's probably the deal that hurts the Niners the most.
Some of those throws that Sam Darnold was making the other day, I'm like, how do you defend that? And it just the placement of throws and the consistency of it, the way the ball gets up and down. I'm like, hey, he looks like what you were expecting him to be when he was the number 3 overall pick, but just in a better situation. I mean, he was that last season as well. And he's even more so that this year, watching the connection between him and JSN, and really, I think who's not getting enough credit in this, man, the offensive coordinator, he is dialing it up, especially for a team who I don't think they're running the ball necessarily well. So a lot of their offensive success is on the shoulders or arm of Sam Darnold. In that first half, he was threw 4 touchdown passes, like damn near had like a perfect passer rating. Now he did end up throwing an interception.
He always has one
to his left, trying to throw back right, and the ball kind of tailed inside. Defender made a really good play on the ball, interception. But aside from that, he looks like it's going to be tough. And I think the 49ers, they got to get to Seattle early on, maybe before a lot of this continuity was built with these receivers and all that. And now they're adding an extra one. When do the 49ers play them next? That's a game that could be a little scary.
I think that's week 18, right? That's the new all-black jersey week 18 rivalry week game, Niners Seahawks to end the season. That could be a fun one.
Yeah. Sam is. It's hard when I love watching USC guy, but it's hard. Like when I see a player like him get, just dragged through the mud the way he did, and to see him get his career back on track. And I thought he played very well for Minnesota. And you're watching him, and it's a weird dynamic here because I hate the Seattle Seahawks, but watching him is almost like a proud father. Like, oh, good job, Sammy boy.
Yeah.
Like he looks good out there. It's fun watching him.
Niners have the Rams. Speaking of division rivals coming up this week, we will turn the page from trade deadline from week 9 to week 10 here on the next Winky Wednesday episode. And want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the YouTube comments at BD Peacock, at Coach Crocky. What do you think the 49ers roster right now? Should you change expectations post trade deadline? And Croc and I back next time right here, Locked On 49ers.